Apple leakers become psychics? Why Apple leakers are becoming less credible every day. It kind of seems like this month being an Apple leaker has become the new Insta famous. It's a super easy thing to do, especially at this time of year when we know that there's stuff on the way. We've got new iPads due, we've got new iPhones due, we've got Apple Watches, we've got Apple Silicon on the way. We know that all of these things are on the way from Apple in the near-ish future, but nobody really knows when they're coming. We've got a huge event coming up on Tuesday, which the media all thought was going to be the iPhone event. Then some of the leakers that thought that the iPads and the Apple Watches were coming out this past Tuesday have come out and gone, oh no, that's what we meant. They're coming out on Tuesday the 15th, but there's definitely still no iPhones. That's not going to happen, but they're definitely going to release Apple Watches and iPads. That's what's going to happen. I will tell you a couple of reasons why that's not going to happen, but first, we need to talk about everyone that's on Twitter with Apple and leaks in their name somehow, in some combination with some underscores and some letters and some numbers randomly dispersed through there. Because you know what? This leaking stuff is getting beyond a joke.
This is Living on iPad with David Eden Sangwell.
I'm David for Living on iPad, and I simplify Apple so that everything just works for you. And if you want the latest Apple news, rumours, and of course leaks, every weekday at 12 UTC, like this video, hit the subscribe button, join my notification squad by ringing the bell, and you will get a shout out in the next news video. Okay, so just to be clear, I am brand new to this YouTube game. I've been making videos about Apple stuff for about a month. That's it. I am super new at this. However, I've been making videos for quite a while, and I'm a skeptic when it comes to kind of scientific evidence and stuff like that. So there's my background. So right now we have got accounts that are kind of set up on Twitter. They throw out hundreds of different leaks, just little snippets of information, higher resolution display coming, micro LED, mini LED. We know that some of these things are backed up by patents that have been put in by Apple, so we know that some of it will come eventually. And the thing is, if you throw all of those rumours every time there's a new product on the way, eventually some of those are going to be right. And at that point, everyone remembers the hits. Everyone remembers the correct bits of information, and their brain just simply forgets the things that don't fit. That's how confirmation bias works, and that is, it seems, how a lot of this stuff is going on. Now, CoinX, he's kind of the highest, he or she, we don't know, is basically the highest ranked leaker in terms of accuracy on Apple Track. And as a result of that, everyone kind of listens to everything they say. If you are doing something like Apple Track, which is a great website, a really useful resource for anyone that wants to know how credible a leak is, which tweets are they including? Like, how many of the tweets that seem like a joke, if something similar happens, will they then go back and go, oh wow, well, they were actually right about that? How many of the really vague things, you know, like saying higher resolution panels coming to iPhone in the next 2 years, 120Hz promotion coming in the next 2 years, how many of those things, because they're not specific to a date, specific to a device, how do you rank that? I haven't got a clue. But if it hits and it happens, someone will be like, oh, he tweeted about that like 6 months ago, and all of a sudden that's a hit. How accurate does it need to be? If I say higher resolution panels coming in the next 5 years to iPhones, I'm probably going to be right. I have no information to that effect, but I would get a point. Also, how many leaks or accurate leaks, or what's the conditions to be put onto Apple Track? Now, I'm not saying this because I want to be a part of it. I am not a leaker. I am an Apple enthusiast, and I report on stuff that I see on Twitter. Now, I also try and make it very, very clear when there is something that is unconfirmed, that is a leak or a rumour, I call it that. The last thing I want is to be misleading people to say this is what's going to happen. Now, with all the stuff that's going on with iPhones and iPads and Apple Watch and the delays that are happening, we have some real evidence for these things, but we also have a lot of people then taking that evidence and turning it into conjecture, which they then package up in many cases as being a confirmed leak or inside information or something like that, which it just isn't in a lot of these cases. Now, don't get me wrong, there are people like Jon Prosser out there who obviously definitely 100%, no question, had inside information about some of the stuff that was going on at Apple. He was tweeting 15 to 20 minutes before an event, sorry Tim, and then 10 minutes before an announcement, like with the iMac and a few other things, he was literally tweeting out just before it happened, 10 minutes or so before it happened, this is what they're about to announce in 10 minutes. No question, he had some information. He had some great sources inside. Now, last week, he made a mistake. That may not be his fault. It may be that the sources that he had inside Apple were found out by Apple and were fed themselves incorrect information, which they then fed on. It may be that Apple pulled his leaks. It may be that things just changed at the last minute. We don't know. None of this is to criticise any individual that is genuinely doing their best to try and bring good information to people. This is to criticise the people that are out there making stuff up and calling it a leak rather than saying, what if they did this? Which is exactly what I do on Twitter. I will report on some of the leaks that I see. I will retweet some of the leakers if I think it's got some credibility to it, but I will also add that level of take this with a grain of salt, but this is what I'm hearing. And you just say hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
This is little Ted. He's my little boy. What's this for, Ted?
That from listen.
Yeah. So the guys that are not being honest about it, the guys that are hearing second, third-hand information, reporting it as a direct leak from Apple or reporting it as something that they've heard from someone there, they, for me, are on the same level as psychics. Psychics are not a real thing. Just to be clear, just like these leakers are not real, psychics are not real. They are people that are trying to take advantage to grow a following. They are people that are trying to take advantage of you, of people's interest in Apple, so that they can grow a following. Now, I am trying to take advantage of your interest in Apple to grow a following, but I'm trying to do it in an honest way and share the news that I hear and the rumours that I hear, and we'll have a chat about them in a sense of, does that seem like something that might happen? If it did, what would they do with it? What could that mean for something else coming down the line? And would that be cool? Do you know what I mean? We speculate and we call it speculation. We don't say, this is what we've heard from inside Apple. For example, many of the leakers that thought that the Apple Watch and the iPads were being released last Tuesday, as soon as it came out that there was actually an event coming this Tuesday, they went, that's when they're releasing the iPads and the watches. There's definitely still no iPhones coming. There's still no iPhones coming. That makes no sense. I will tell you why it makes no sense, and I could be wrong, but logically it makes no sense to me. Because if they are going to release a new iPad, or potentially two new iPads, the 8th generation iPad and the iPad Air, and the Apple Watch Series 6, or whatever it's called, because we're hearing now it might be called Apple Watch Pro and Apple Watch Regular. If they were to release iPads and Apple Watches on Tuesday, they would also surely be releasing watchOS and iPadOS 14. There's also potentially going to be an A14 processor in the iPad Air that comes out. Apple has never released an A series processor that has not had its iPhone debut first. They've also never released iPadOS before iOS. They've also never released an iOS version without a new iPhone. So it makes absolutely no sense. It does look like iOS 14.1 is just about being finished. Production has started on iPhones, which John, I think, probably tweeted today, but my honest opinion is that those iPhones that have gone into production today, because they've also mentioned that 120 Hz ProMotion is now not coming to the iPhone 12, but that would require iOS 14.1. Same probably with the LiDAR and things like that. There were some reports of APIs being needed specifically for that iPhone. Now, chances are that iOS 14.1 is going to be preloaded onto the iPhone 12 Pros. The iPhone 12s, I honestly believe, are in production already. They are going to be announced at Tuesday's event, because then they can still release the iPad Air with the same A14 chipset. They can release, because the hold-up was always on the 5G chips, from what we've been hearing, which won't necessarily be going into the iPad Air, especially if potentially they just delay the cellular version of it by a couple of weeks. But the iPad Air can now come out with an A14 chip in it. iOS 14 can come out because iOS 14 is also going to come out, because the iPhone 12 is going to come out. It all makes so much more sense. watchOS 7 is going to have features that integrate with iOS 14. not with iOS 13.7 and things like that are already out. Could Apple potentially put out another patch update for iOS 13.8, for example, that included the support for the watchOS? Probably. It makes far more sense that they would at least announce the iPhone 12s, even if it's 1 week later, because this event is already a week later than it normally would be. We'd normally be ordering the iPhones from this week and having them delivered next week. This time we're going to be having the event, ordering at the end of the week, and they come out a week later than that, or potentially 2 weeks later. That might be the difference. Maybe there's going to be a 2-week gap between pre-orders starting and the next iPhones being finally released. Everyone has also said, oh, it's going to destroy the sales of the iPhone 11s. Okay, so in general, we keep the iPhone 11, we keep the previous generation of the iPhone available in most cases. So you just do the price reduction early, and then it doesn't kill the sales. People have the option to get the iPhone 11 at a slightly lower price, but with the information that the iPhone 12 is a couple of weeks away. If there are supply constraints with the iPhone 12, you've still got the 11 available. You've got the 11 available at a lower price, so it's going to build more sales there. People have got all the information. You can release your iOS 14, you can get on with things, and you don't have to be standing there beholden to this iPhone 12 slight delay in production. They said a few weeks, we've pushed back the event a week, maybe give it an extra week on the pre-orders, and then if you've got early supply constraints, people will kind of understand COVID's happened, so I don't think it's going to be a big issue, but there will be some models ready. It's not a massive problem. What is becoming a massive problem is all of these leakers, all of these people on Twitter that are saying they've got inside information when they clearly don't. Please stop feeding them. Do they deserve your follows? I don't think they do. Do they deserve your attention? Probably not. Follow better news sources. People like Rene Ritchie, Taylosive Tech, Luke Miani, Max Tech, all do fantastic jobs. This Week in Tech, the guys that do MacBreak Weekly, Leo Laporte, because that's got Rene Ritchie on it, and the guys from iMore and stuff like that. There are some brilliant shows out there. Mine is absolutely not one of the best, but I'm trying my best. Oh, my light's going. Right, guys, I'm going to wrap this up because that LED light, the battery is on its way out. It started flickering at me then, so apologies if it's given anyone any problems. Hopefully not. But I will see you on Monday morning at the next Apple Daily. Take care and thank you so much for watching. And don't forget, if you want to join that notification squad and get a shout out in my next news video, ring the bell and let me know in the comments that you have so I know who to shout out.